Hello, I'm joined with the ANC Chairman Ken Hachikian via Skype at Chicago. We're going to talk about the resolution adopted by the U.S. House of Representatives several days ago. Mr. Hachikian, good morning. Thank you for joining us at this early morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gayane.
So what does this 306 resolution represent? If I'm not mistaken, other resolutions like this have never been brought to the U.S. House of Representatives before, right?
That's correct. This is the first time that we've ever proposed a resolution relating to Christian churches. Obviously, Armenian churches were predominantly the churches that were affected by this.
Okay.
And the resolution has four operative clauses. The first is to end all forms of religious discrimination. Secondly is to allow Christians to organize and to practice their religion freely without any discrimination. Thirdly is really the key clause, which is to return all of the church properties, all of the churches, the monasteries, and any of the related properties to their rightful owners. And fourth is to allow the owners to repair the churches as necessary to bring them back to their appropriate condition to allow for worship.
Okay, what is the importance of adopting this resolution? What does it mean? You said that it calls upon Turkey to return the Christian church properties, stop the discrimination of the Christian minorities, but will Turkey follow the call by the U.S. House of Representatives?
We certainly hope that they will. To be honest, right now, I'm not overly optimistic that they will, but clearly, not only does the United States, but I would expect that virtually all the Western world would agree in this assessment, that the Armenians deserve to have their confiscated properties returned. Interestingly, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton sent a letter to us saying that the United States agreed with this argument that any properties confiscated by Turkey should be returned. So it's very significant. All of the Armenian church leaders from the Apostolic Church, both Catholicoses, the Armenian Catholic and Armenian Protestant churches, overwhelmingly agree that this is an appropriate first step, and we very much look forward to Turkey following this. Otherwise, they're in violation not only of their own laws, but of international laws.
How it was possible to make the resolution adopted? Like, was there any concrete claim to insist the opposite?
The concept of religious freedom is very important in the United States, and the concept that the Christians in Turkey would be discriminated against and not allowed to appropriately practice their religion was something that resonated very broadly amongst the congressmen and congresswomen. Also, the fact that the church properties were confiscated without any compensation, without any permission, was simply taken, was also something that the United States has a long track record of condemning. So all of those factors counted in our favor. However, when the bill was introduced on Tuesday, the Turkish caucus, the Turkish government, the Turkish Coalition of America marshaled their forces and attempted very hard, vigorously, to defeat this. However, they weren't able to, obviously. It passed overwhelmingly. Senior members of both the Democratic and Republican Party supported this, and we were obviously very pleased with their support and happy with the victory.
But I meant they didn't have the resolution opponents during the discussions.
There was very, very little opposition that was actually presented, yes, because there were no good arguments against it.
Okay.
What can you say? We shouldn't return the properties that we took. The Christians shouldn't be allowed to practice. So you're right. There was very little opposition expressed
Okay.
But the Turkish government is very unhappy, and they tried very hard to prevent this from coming up for a vote.
But anyway, will it be correct to assume that this time Turkey's reaction was a little weak comparing with the past, that we have examples like when it recalled its ambassador to Washington when the Foreign Affairs Committee adopted the Armenian genocide resolution? If yes, what does it mean? Is this resolution less important?
I actually think this resolution is very important, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. Turkey's reaction has not been, you are correct, as severe as when the genocide resolution passed the House Foreign Affairs Committee. However, I believe it's been not as severe because they really have no defense whatsoever. I mean, when it comes to the genocide resolution, their defense is very poor, it's illogical, it has no intellectually sound basis, but at least they offer a defense. In this case, there's no defense at all for them to offer, so it's difficult for them to say anything other than to claim that they treat Christians appropriately and they've not discriminated. We know that isn't the case. Now, why is this resolution important? There's all the obvious reasons. There are over 2,000 Armenian church properties. There's perhaps another 500 of other Christian churches, and all of those should be returned. But the next implication of this is that this sets a precedent for reparations. Reparations for the genocide, for compensation back to the Armenian people, and we believe this is a critically important first step in setting that precedent so that the world understands that the Armenians are not simply going to accept an apology for what the Turks did in committing genocide, but that they have a moral obligation, and the international community has a moral obligation to force Turkey to make appropriate compensation to the Armenian people for the murder of 1.5 million Armenians.
So can we consider this as one more step towards the process of urging the U.S. government to recognize the Armenian genocide?
Yes, very much so. It's an important step, and in many ways it goes beyond recognition, obviously, in that it directly calls for reparations, and as I said, it establishes the precedent that reparations are appropriate. So now we have the House of Representatives, the largest House, the largest component of Congress, overwhelmingly approving and calling upon Turkey to return these properties. And I would hope that our colleagues around the world would also ask their parliaments to take similar measures and to place international pressure on Turkey to come to terms with the crime that they've committed of genocide and to make reparations to the Armenian people.
So what is the next step?
We will introduce this resolution into the Senate and move it forward there as well. We will work with our colleagues in high tut around the world and help work with them to introduce similar resolutions in various parliaments in other countries, continuing to face pressure. As you know, there's a bill pending in the French Senate in the coming week calling upon or making it a crime to deny the reality, the facts of the Armenian genocide. The Israeli Knesset later this month is considering adopting a bill recognizing genocide. And we will work tirelessly in the United States to call upon the United States Congress to recognize the Armenian genocide. We have a resolution pending, House Resolution 304, which we will aggressively push in 2012, work with our friends, and hopefully we're able to get that adopted as well.
Do you find it possible that this resolution adopted by the U.S. House of Representatives can have some influence on the adoption of this bill at the French National Assembly? Any influence, I mean?
Yes, I think it may. The United States is obviously a leader, a leading country when it comes to issues of human rights. And I believe that when the United States speaks forcefully about these issues, that it does encourage other countries to do so as well. So hopefully the French Senate will acknowledge what's occurred. The French Parliament has already acknowledged and recognized the Armenian genocide. This is a further step in making denial a crime, punishable in a number of ways. So that, yes, we look forward to working with our colleagues in France, and hopefully they're able to persuade the French Senate to move forward with that legislation.
Mr. Hachikian, I'm finished with my questions. If you have something to add, you're welcome.
Well, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. We're pleased to work with our colleagues in HITUD, in Armenia and around the world. And I do believe that this resolution, House Resolution 306, is a very significant milestone for us. It is the first resolution both in the United States and around the world that I'm aware of that actually calls upon Turkey to make restitution for the crimes that they have committed. So we believe that's a very, very important first step, and it's a foundation that we look to build upon to bring justice for the victims of the Armenian genocide.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Just to remind that I was talking to the ANCA chairman Ken Hachikian via Skype at Chicago. We were speaking about the resolution adopted by the U.S. House of Representatives just several days ago.